depends on what goes show up there in your contract. And the stronger it is, the harder it is to get away from being a shaman. You have to do it.
Here at Hmong Insights, we are committed to providing knowledge and fresh information from our viewpoint to empower the Hmong community to form their own perspective on their culture. We recognize the existing negativities surrounding our culture and aim to transform the environment. Our podcast seeks to clarify misconceptions and offer valuable insights for the younger generation, while also working to preserve our cultural heritage. We recognize that certain topics may be sensitive, so we kindly ask everyone to remain open-minded, as our goal is to promote positivity and understanding.
Hi, Nyajong. Welcome to Hmong Insights. I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Jen.
Hi, I'm Pania. Welcome back.
Well, hi, everybody. And thank you so much for tuning in. And today we're going to talk about the journey of becoming a Hmong shaman. And there's a lot of information, so we actually separated this topic into 3-part series. And so the first one that we'll be covering today talks about the symptoms and the beginning of your journey. And then part 2, we'll be talking about finding a shaman master or a master shaman. And then number 3, it just talks about items that you need to prepare and also what it is that you need to know to become a successful shaman. So let's get started.
Okay, well, let's start from the very beginning. What are some of the symptoms to know that someone is spiritually gifted?
Okay, well, most people who are spiritually gifted by about age 10 would already have shown some sort of sensitivity to the other world. Whether these children will have like vivid dreams, premonitions, or kind of like innately know things. Like I know this like really young boy where for sure we knew he was gifted because he was only like 2 or 3, but like lahoprina, and then he already knew that they forgot incense, they forgot so I mean for a 2-3-year-old, right? So that definitely just things like that will or like and they're only 5 and they're like or just things like that where and some people can argue that's interest, but being 2, 3, 4, 5 and kind of knowing those things, it's kind of like, okay, there's something a little different here. And then some of them will talk about how like Caucasiana and how they're born here in the United States, right? But they'll tell me like, for some reason, like Caucasiana, there's this nostalgic feeling about the country, Japan or Ipona, and I've never been there before. And I don't know why I feel like there's this deep connection to it. So normally that sort of, tells me that, okay, there's something different about this person. And of course, sometimes it's like, let's say anime, and it's just like, they're interested. So, about Japan, but sometimes it's like an odd country that you wouldn't think about, like, Scotland or Greenland. And you're like, this kid is only 5. What is she talking about? So those are some symptoms that I would say at the beginning of like kind of saying like, probably this kid is gifted.
I believe that's true because like a 2-year-old telling you that you're missing incense, like even adults saying you're bet you gifted, we wouldn't even know that, right?
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Well, in that case, then those are some of the symptoms, but do they intensify and do you get new ones as you grow up?
Yes. So like like they have dreams, remember? And then as they grow up, then the dreams become more vivid, the dreams become more clear, or their premonition becomes more accurate. And then also you have to like or any aches and ailments or pain, like it does, I don't want to use the word worsen, but it does intensify as they grow up. Yes.
And is it like recurring dreams or like is it different every time?
For everybody, it's very different. Some people, they tell me that it's recurring, and then some people it's just like random dreams, but majority of them actually So if you dream a lot,
like you're a bird, or like those Chinese movies, they go kung fu in the air.
Everybody's different, but usually it's like you just like take off. Yeah, so it is kind of like Chinese, right? They don't look like a bird, but it's like basically levitate, and then we just like fly off the air.
I think you're gonna get to this later, but it's in Ning, right? You put yang in that world.
Anything and everything is possible.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So in the beginning, Lauranaki, when you monagna and you're really young or so, and gumbo shwasu, and you start getting these feelings and then that's but gumbo sa they're like joining to someone pinch going up. They gonna so at first it's like they're just trying to get your attention. But can you imagine like 10, 12, 20 years of pinching you? Well, that's gonna become like oma or a bruise now, and it's gonna like an ailment now because so it's the same thing. It starts out as spiritual, but the longer that it carries on and you don't do anything about it, then that's when the elements start showing up.
Oh, like in what places though?
Where the model.
Yeah.
Well, everybody is different. So let's talk about because sometimes people don't catch it until they're like 30, 40, 50, and then like little law like breast cancer, like cancer. So these are like really extreme cases. But you have to talk maybe also normally get you more like you do all your lower back, and you can do even though you're 8, 10. So be like much older.
So they're not lying because they're like, you're so young.
Yeah. So normally like like sometimes they can be growing pains too, but like their arms and their feet like only or their legs and like it's unexplainable. But like multiple lots of headaches, especially around your forehead area to your temples and pneumonia. So that everybody's like a little bit different, but usually those are the symptoms that could be morning.
Oh, and does it hurt like all together at once, or like you mot the how and then it's just that, and then mot law and then it's just that, or is it all together?
Usually it starts out with one thing and then it starts to gradually grow and then eventually it becomes either everything or like the human body, like let's say but because your head hurts more, then you're gonna feel your head more than your back.
Oh, okay.
So that's more like the human body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Later on, and so you have to do something to kind of postpone it, because if not, then it's just gonna gradually and that's the physical elements. But sometimes, right, a person it's mind, body, spirit. So you have the new it's gonna start or you go start to hear things again. They will do things at all costs for God to pay attention to them and do something about it.
Oh, so like if you take a pill, does it help it, or because it's spiritual, it won't work?
Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, depending on how severe it is. Or like sometimes some people tell go that no, choice, I want to get you working but those are more that like they've had the symptoms for such a long time that when your clothes like no, I'm not letting Tylenol work anymore. Yeah, this pain medication. No, we're gonna keep at it now.
Now us normal people are gonna go and like,
It's the weather.
That's crazy.
So you've mentioned that for your physical ailments, why is that? Like, why do we hurt in those specific places?
Very good question. Most people don't know the answer to this, right? So, or we call it shaman sickness, right? So, right here in the temples, because that's where when so tihao, remember, is the veil, right?
Yeah.
So this is where so that's why because all of us now right around our waist, and then like because we're gonna be constantly and then and it's very physically draining. I mean draining, but like you right?
Yeah.
So you like 4, 5, 6 hours. It's not too bad, but oh my goodness, like you shot normally for but it's like running a marathon, like that day's not too bad. Oh, but the next day it's when you're super sore, so that's why because it's foreshadowing that so that's why
Oh wow, I did not know that. Yeah. I thought then more name than you get more, right? But it's specific. So I know we touched a little bit on our first episode, but can you share a little bit about your like journey to morning and all that stuff?
Okay, sure. So go back to episode 1, some of you, for more information. This one, yeah. So for me, growing up, Lonaki, by the time I was 6 or 7, I would have like dreams, and innately, like you want to kickle, but innately, I was able to know when or who was going to pass away, and then I would go tell my mom. And remember, right? The whole wrong story, yeah, a wrong and egg story. So innately, I would know like to uncle or but they didn't have to be mom, right? Like it can be anybody, but it's just that monkey. I didn't feel like you so that was at about age 6 or 7. So and then well, you by 16 like you could call you actually caution also you go bank or blow it's like I'm yearning for something, but you would the caution a because you just don't get it right. You're like go caution, but I don't know why. Go caution, I don't know what. I feel like I'm missing something, but and like I've even had these conversations. My mom was like, "小要go 撒到了去的时候，过去包的时候go caution," and she's like, "那你有时候要去 caution 啦 right?" And 个了，那是要过去包，我的 no 过去包的时候，小要这边 caution. So like 头一面面的有因more 和 feelings 上有。Okay, as I got older in my 20s, then I started like hurting my shoulders, my back. I was really afraid that there might be some spinal issues, right? But they're like, no, just pain medication over the counter. And then the funny thing is like when I was around 16 to about 20, every single day from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I would hurt right? And I went everywhere and like then no like my alarm clock body remember I was like, who does that? Who's like, oh, it's 11 a.m. today, I'm gonna like, oh, let me get a headache. And so that's what my doctor told me, and I was just like, this doesn't make sense. And then it was really funny, but they're like, oh, there's no, and I kid you not, and then more right? And she would actually had to shoot it onto my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, mom, it's like
that's an arrow, right? When
it's an arrow. Yeah, it's an arrow that it's bamboo, and that it has to like supposedly to scare off the rays.
Your mom was shooting bamboo arrows at your head.
Yes.
And you were like 12, is it? Oh, 20.
No. I that time bitching. So then and it was and like it went back and forth, right? So started at 12 all the way until like I don't know, I was still like 18, like around there.
Picture your mom doing that.
Yeah, and my mom is like she's a strong and rough and tough lady too, so she's just over there like and I'm like, oh my god,
close range too.
Yeah. And she's like, I swear this works. And I was like, I've never heard of this before, but she's my mom. Okay, I got it. So yeah, but like you have to do series, and like it kept on coming back. So like from what age to what age? Where for sure started at 12 coaching. We were still dancing.
I remember.
And probably like 18 she was still doing it.
Wow.
And needless to say, it did not work.
I know. If she did it at 12 to let's give her a year. She don't know why she keeps continuing.
No, because like no talking like like for a month. Oh. And I'm on it. Honestly, I think it just scared my spiritual guides, because imagine throwing something at you, and then I think like it went away, and then like or new more lesson, so just complain like, and then by age 14 it came back and so it wasn't like every day just shooting at me. Yeah.
All right, time for your shooting session.
I was like 10 a.m. Let's go out there. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was really proud of her. She was able to soar and everything too. She made it.
She can still do it.
Oh, it's funny now, but at the time I was very desperate.
But you said that when you were like younger and you would know that someone was going to pass away. Like, did you feel that, or did something tell you, or did you dream it? How did you know?
Sometimes I felt like someone was telling me in my head.
Okay.
And then sometimes in my heart, I just knew.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like,
so
you know,
it's
like,
different.
It's different.
Okay.
Like, and like, I'm not hearing voices at that age yet. But like, I just knew. Like, I was just so confident and certain that was going to happen. And it normally does happen.
My curiosity, though, is how did you pinpoint it to this person, you know?
Oh, because normally they give me a vision. So, like, I'll know, and then they'll give me the vision of the lady, and sometimes like the day that how loyal passed, not like what clothes they have on too. So sometimes like when they wear the clothes, I was like, oh, it's today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's different like every time too. It's not like that happened every time.
Yeah, sure.
But it happened a few times where like I remember like clearly she had like this pink purplish shirt on with jeans and then her tennis shoes, right? So I saw her and I was like, oh, today's the day. So because she had a little son that used to go to school with us and stuff like that. And then so her I think it was her grandson. And then so we went over there and something something happened because go hike when it got high. And then so I was like, oh, okay, well, for us, 7-8 was late. And it's like, okay, we have to go home now. So I was like, okay, well, maybe not today because, she didn't. But then the next morning, then we got news that she passed in her sleep.
They'll freak out.
Well, I didn't even tell my mom about the whole clothes thing because she was too scared.
Yeah.
So I just tell her, oh, I think it's this lady, but I never described to her like, oh, like I know which outfit that they're going to go into because
and plus your mom is traditional, so she already knew that you were gifted, y'all. So then
she didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And then I thought everybody was like me. So then I didn't know that I was gifted. I was like, how come other people don't talk about this thing? And God forbid, but if they know about my parents, how come no one's speaking? So in my 6-7-year-old mind, I was just thinking like, how come nobody is talking or telling other people? Yeah. So I didn't know that it was different.
Very interesting.
Kind of freaky, actually. Like thinking, like not freaky, but like creepy, right? Like a little 6-year-old, like, oh, if you wear a green shirt, that's it.
Today's your day.
I know.
Don't drive. Right?
Yeah.
That was me.
So for these shaman sicknesses that these little kids experience, do the heavens or their spiritual guides expect them to start that early?
No, not really. Well, actually, not at all. A majority of the time, it's kind of like just hinting or giving signs that this, really young person, whether it's 3, 4, 5, or even younger, that this person is, spiritually gifted. So majority of the time they don't expect it. And then sometimes like so you're supposed to like go with your shaman or do something to kind of go push back now or to postpone until but then some people postpone or some like so every case is different, but everybody under 10 those are like really extreme cases. And sometimes people don't know, but normally if you're under 10 or 12 and those are extreme cases.
I was just gonna ask you, do you know any, or who is the youngest that you know or heard of that or name?
8.
Wow. But at that time they don't even know how to make decisions yet, right? It's really like, should I wear the blue pants or
speak properly?
Yeah. I was, of course, 110% against it. But his parents, they're traditional, and they felt like they wanted their son to start earlier and to bring like honor and to bring prestige to their family. And so they went ahead and but I was totally against it. And in my opinion, it was not a extreme case.
I see. But are there any like masters that would take kids that young? Obviously his master did, right?
Yeah.
But do masters typically take that young of a...
master whether you take someone young or old or whatever it is, their criteria, it's all up to you. I personally wouldn't, and actually majority of tuti or students, I would prefer them to be 18 or over. Extreme cases they may be 16, but I do want older to the and I don't want someone to lose their childhood. And especially at being that young, I feel like they lose their childhood and they don't get to live.
Yeah. Yeah. And like just being around you, like, even Kutya they're of age, but there's a lot of guidance there, right? So with someone so young, guidance, and you're kind of like their parent too at that time.
Right, you are. So, I don't recommend it and I don't condone it, but then again, I'm not the parent.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So we've previously talked about the three pillars of a person, right? Mind, body, and spirit. How does shaman sickness or mourning affect each of these pillars, or do they even?
Pinya's getting deep.
Yeah, I know. I like that question.
I like that too. So, human monarchy, the three pillars, we always talk about the mind, body, spirit. So, how the shaman sickness or hokemonang na affect ka mind, body, spirit. So, the spirit part will be like how you just innately know things, or or you could call Shiana, and you're yearning for something. And then I would hear some like parents telling me that they have like a 8, 9, 10-year-old, and her son would be like, Mom, before I became your son, I don't know what I forgot, but I forgot to bring something before I came down on earth and became your son. And she'd be like, what did you forget, son? He's like, I don't know, like a dagger or a book or something. And she's like, I'm like, what are you talking
dagger.
about? Right. And he's so little, he's so cute. Or like they'll say things like, oh, Mom, I wasn't supposed to be your kid, but gulo yokena, and I was supposed to be like the neighbors. And like their parents would like freak out, right? So it's safe to say that type of kid is gifted.
Yeah.
And so that's the spiritual side, because when you pass away and reincarnate and become a person again, you don't remember, right? But your soul does. Your soul remembers everything. So that's the spiritual side. A physical side, the shaman sickness, a lot of elements that we hear about, right? Serious cases can probably like cancer. So I have several people cases that I took on, and she has stomach cancer, and then and I kid you not, it's not even a month, right? It's like 2 days. It's like, oh no, like the cancer is, it all disappeared, and it's like ovarian now. And the cancer would just like jump up and down and everywhere within 2 weeks. And I'm like, are you?
It's unexplainable, right?
Right. And even the doctors are scared. And so, sometimes when I arrive, they're like, yeah, we need you to go in there. And then the nurses are like all freaked out already.
Yeah.
And then, and even like some doctors are like, yeah, Miss Her, please, thank you. This is out of our hands, and we feel like this, patient needs more than doctors right now.
Yeah.
So, even doctors would say that to me when I show up in the ICU or whatever also. So physical elements can you join that. Mental part, how morning affect you on your mind. Feel like you're paranoid. You start hearing voices. You start seeing things. You start being a little delusional. So then that's how the shaman sickness or morning would affect you, mind, body, spirit, if you don't do anything about it.
Oh, I see. And then earlier when we were talking about your bamboo story, right?
Yes.
So is that something that you can do yourself to stop the symptoms, or do you have to go seek a shaman for help? Yes.
So, you come from a family that are shamans or that knows ways, and sometimes it can be as simple as like odeho. And so I know a lot of families have these ways, and usually they're a lot older also, or they come from a shaman lineage. So if your family knows, great, do that. But usually, if you're not from family, please seek a shaman, because only a shaman will be able to control and kind of calm you down, so that the shaman sickness or the hamonang or whatever that it is that you're experiencing will come to a level that you can cope with.
Oh, I see. So is that a form of postponing, or is it just like calming down?
I would say it's calming down and postponing, because for you to do it. So then if you kind of like calm them down, then it is allowing you to postpone it until you're ready or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So like if you're a grown person, like of age, and got you some name there, right? Can you just go drink some water that somebody or and then you'll feel better?
It depends on how heavy or strong your contract is.
Oh, okay. We'll get to contracts,
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Yeah.
We'll get into contracts. Okay, so I know that Oneng is a very serious thing and it can result in life or death situations, right? Have you seen any type of cases like that where Moneng so extreme that it goes there?
Yes. Several, actually too many, and that's why we're doing this episode.
Yeah.
And I would like people to take this seriously. And so recently, just a few months ago, and this is a very recent case where but no one really did anything about it. And his parents are younger too, so it's kind of like the mom says, "Oh, she the and the dad was like, "Oh, she the oh, we don't know. Oh, we don't know." So they kind of just didn't really do anything about it. So and everybody knows, by the way.
How old is this boy?
He's in his late 20s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's in his late 20s. I don't recall exactly how old, but he's in his late 20s.
Okay.
And so they didn't really do anything about it. But everybody knew had the new morning. Okay. So let's not say or anything, but it's just the symptoms and everything. So so then on his maternal side, and then so 3 years came by and he took his life.
Oh my God.
He took his life. So going instead of like whether it's cancer or whether sometimes it's just like as simple as like getting more dormant like hangna or no getting like let's say and then it triggers something else and like getting pass away because only no you should watch and the key word here is they didn't do anything about it. Okay. If they did something about it to kind of like, they had to calm down and seek help, so when some people tell me like, oh, like it's a scary thing because you get passed away, that's not accurate.
Yeah.
It's because you did not do anything about it.
Right.
That's how until he passed away.
Right. I asked about his age because could he have made that decision himself or was his parents so strict that knew what you thought?
I think that he could have made that decision himself. He just didn't know what the next steps are, how to even seek help, how to even go to a shaman. Like I always say that too, So then I think it was just that he needed his parents to sit down and just say, hey, people, come on, let's or let's do something about it. Because no one made a decision. Everybody was just sitting around looking at each other.
Yeah. So I'm glad that this episode and the next two would educate people in that situation, right?
Right. And that's why we're doing this, because we want to save lives and we want to teach people, about our culture and what so many people are going through. Right. And it's very tragic. And so I'm only telling you about a case that happened a couple of months ago, but how many cases have I seen that is the same? To the complaint, but I'm just saying that no one made the decision.
Yeah.
And when you're going through something, you want your family or that support to help you. Like if I'm like really depressed and, I'm on my bed and I can't get up, like I need someone to say, hey, Susan, get up. Let's go do something. Let's go seek therapy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just going to get up one day and go, okay, I'm going to help myself, right?
Yeah.
I need that help. So family members, if you're listening to this and you hear this, please, help this person and do something about it.
Yeah, because they're already on the low, right? It's hard to like show you, right?
And it's never like, up a week, obviously.
Right.
It's like years. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for the people, the cases where they do take their own lives, it's not their own personal doing, right? It's the spiritual that does it.
The spirits and sometimes even ancestors influence the choice and the keyword is influence. But ultimately, it's still their decision that they chose it.
Oh, I see.
And when he did take his life, his parents and his siblings did come out and said that he's told them for like a year or so that he had suicide thoughts. So it wasn't something new. It's a very tragic case. I'm not blaming anybody, but I just wish they did something, anything. And I felt that if Ledudunda felt like he was heard and that all his symptoms and everything was acknowledged, I feel like he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, we talk a lot about the shaman sickness in Hmong people, right? What about other race and religions? Do they experience that as well?
Ooh, I'm so glad you brought that up. So as you all know, and if you don't, go watch my episode 1, but I help people from all walks of life, whether whichever religion and whichever ethnicity, right? So yeah, 同地那個神學被蒙til你最驚，被蒙til你最冇能先咯. But no, it's not true because I've had several cases. So let me one case that I have as an example. So I had a case where they're of Hispanic heritage, so like a Mainayo. And so they brought their son in, and he's this handsome boy, and he's normal, and we're talking. So I asked her, I was just like, so what are you guys here for? Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't even know who the client was, right? And so she was like, well, you know, all her son is going through certain things, and and so I was telling his mom, like, well, you have to tell me so that I can help you. So I was like, oh, or do you believe in like shamans or shamanisms? And then so she was like, no, we're Catholics. I was like, okay, like, do you guys have shamans in your lineage or some cause so she's like, no, like not that I'm aware of. So anyhow, we're talking, and then so I did things to help her son alleviate the pain that he was going through. So he was like, what's in that? Like, how come this disappeared like right away when you touched my hand? So I was just like, magic, you know? So we were talking about
it is.
and because it's a spiritual component. So that's why that happened. And also the next time his dad brought him over, so I was talking to the dad. So when so they're great. His great grandma or the kid's great great grandma was actually a shaman on his side, the Maitena. So and she was really good, and she has like the feathers in her head, and like she was like a really big healer in their village. So it's in his lineage from his dad's side. So I was like, okay, so how come you tell your wife this? Because then this is normal. And he's like, well, but we're in America. I was like, look at me. I'm in America, right? And so, before Numiko, he was spiraling. He was in high school. He missed his prom. Everything. So, we all worked together along with his therapist and behavior modifier to Banu to where he's at today. So he went back and got his high school diploma. He's driving. He's working. He's normal now. But for them, it was quite a shocker. Like, of course, every case is a little bit different, you know. The Shima. To answer your question, yes, also.
Wow. Well, can you go into a little bit more detail about how you help other race and religions if they come to you?
Okay, sure. So, their comfort level. So, it depends on how strict local religion is also and their comfort level. I always tell people, if you're open and willing, I'll go all the way for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not open and not willing, well, I don't know how to help you, right? So normally I work with their comfort level, but what is it that they need from me? So let's say are starting to get paranoid or right? That was episode 4, so go back. Or anything like that, at what it is to at the situation. And let's say so sometimes so it depends on what situation it is that I'm not comfortable. So 八個someone得好少，或者嗰邊攞路打呢呢個砌頭啦，個八個真係 so whatever it is that the client want 嘅果到呢度少 so I can't go all out 有啲比較猛啲有啲 they're more open to me then I can go all out and I can help them alleviate whatever the situation that they're doing.
Oh, okay. I see. So there's some modification there based on comfortability.
Yes, because I don't ever want someone to but they're afraid of me or like or chica or because that's the thing with human and this is the mental part of the mind, right? The second pillar is that completely normal if it didn't sit too well with them, second guess and even though they're perfectly fine now, but okay, and then so then hesitation, okay, let's heal they can't move on. So throughout my years of experience, that shows me that even though I can can back all the way, comfortable, or if they're not ready for me yet, I can't push them.
That's Hmong too, though.
Yeah.
It's not just other ethnicities.
Yes, it is. It is Hmong too. The Shima majority of the Hmong that they're willing.
Oh, I see.
They're willing, how like other races, they're like, what is this?
Yeah,
like, I've
okay,
never
sure.
heard of this. Yeah, but majority of Hmong, they're ready.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
And not just like, and some people like think that the Hmong that's not true. Because with the Hmong that are Jews, Hmong that are like Catholics, Christians, right?
Yeah.
So then any race and any religion, and Hmong too. Okay.
That's really
interesting.
Yeah.
So the thing
Yeah, for sure. And then as a master shaman, when let's say tu meha, right? Nitoa, and he goes, I'm willing to drop, and then oka tu titi, your
student.
student.
That's a hard word. Good job.
I know. I said it wrong last time in our conversation. But would you take them as a client?
It's really hard.
Or not a client, sorry.
But
would you take them as a student?
Okay. I knew what you meant.
I know.
It's really hard for Gona because I am traditional. A lot of things that my rituals and my verbiage, all of that is Hmong.
Sure, yeah.
And like they have to believe like me and practice Gona to be my student. So I think that it'll be too hard for someone to denounce everything that they've known or linda walk with the student. Now, I have seen others that, like, let's say if their spouse is Hmong, so, like, let's say, like, he's Caucasian, but his spouse is Hmong, or, like, let's say, vice versa, too, then I do see that where that may be easier.
Yeah.
But let's say, like, if they're completely new to my culture and they want to be my student, I wouldn't take them because it's too hard, and I would rather someone of their faith take them so that they can kind of mold them. And also, they're more equipped to help them because they're from the same culture and religion, right? So certain things like, for example, Bimong, we use a lot of like bamboo and joss paper and things like that. And Native Americans, they use a lot of like sage and other things, right? And then so even though we're really similar, and I'm not saying we don't use sage, by the way, Hmong use sage too. So that's another episode, but I'm just saying that like I would prefer that they're from the same culture, faith as me so that things are smoother. It would be really hard if they weren't.
Oh, hey, for the Mika, your Hmong, right? And do they speak Hmong? I mean, like, Oneng Hmong, and then after they Oneng Hmong, do they understand Hmong?
So I've only heard of two cases where the Yamika, so he's Caucasian and he married Hmong. And then also another case where he's African American and he married Hmong. So I'm Hmong. By the way, they don't know each other and they're like
Two different
strangers.
stories. Yeah.
Two completely different stories, and they did not marry sisters.
Or cousins.
The wives are not related. They don't know each other or anything like that. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. So the African American guy, like he doesn't understand, but he says he understands his dreams, and he goes in there and he doesn't understand, and he comes out and he explains it to them, and then his wife and his master explains it to him so that it makes sense. So I don't know. I haven't checked up on him in over 10 years, so I don't know how he's going.
Wait, so he goes in there speaking English, And then he explains it to his wife in English.
Yeah.
And then they interpreted it back to him.
Yeah. So, like, for
Okay.
example, he sees, like, let's say he's like, well, then call his mother-in-law, right? When she's small.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
It's a very different scene, okay?
Okay.
But then, like, and so he'll go and you're like, oh, okay, I'm looking for the spirit, okay, like you know, stuff like that, right? And then, like,
Wait, he
goes,
says this in Mika.
in English.
Okay.
Yes, English.
I need to know.
Yeah, in
Okay.
English. So the one thing okay? And then so the one thing when he comes out, like he'll say, okay, when I went in and I checked on your spirit mom, his mother-in-law, which is Hmong, right? I checked on your spirit. I don't know, but I saw your spirit slipping in a hole like that, right?
Oh,
So the
okay.
Hmong, if that happens, so then his wife be like, oh, okay. So in our culture, then his wife would explain to her, and so then they'll be like, oh, okay. So no new mother need a so last time I go bought it like mom yeah new 这些也是你知道这可以
Oh,
but this
okay.
has been over 10, 15 years. It's been a very long time. So she'll check him like he's not my student, by the way. The Shaman the wife also goes so talk like conversations and how he can improve and things like that only. But I'm not his master and I don't know what happened and I'm not in touch with him anymore.
Hey, wifey, if you're listening, please give us an update. I would love to
Hey,
hear
call
it.
me, email me, what happened?
Yeah.
It's been a very long time. And then also the other guy, but the guy Mikaranama, I've only heard about him. So I've never spoke to him, but several people that I know have talked about him. And so this guy, he lives in Minnesota.
Okay.
And so they asked me if it was possible because they wanted to go to Shaya. And so, the people that asked me to Shaya for this couple, it wasn't their parents indirectly. It was more of people who were related to them. Okay, so then they called me and told me to give a rating, and is it true? Because the Vomika doesn't know a word of Hmong except for Namo, but then
Yes.
right. But when he sleeps, like Hmong, but and they don't know if it's true or not, and if it's possible, or is he possessed, or like what's going on? And he's a Christian also. So then they called me to Shayana, and then so I said, but. They didn't tell me that he was Caucasian.
Oh.
By the way, they didn't tell me that.
They tricked you.
So they did trick me. Actually, they didn't. So they're like, oh, but then they didn't tell me he wasn't even Hmong.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, you know, and like, he was supposed to be Hmong. But for
I see.
some reason,
That was my question next.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was supposed to be Hmong, but for whatever reason, I was like, you know, but you look, and again, so I don't know him. They hid that fact from me. I was like, for some reason, but are you guys sure he's Hmong? And so they're like, right?
Yes.
And then I think he was an uncle or something related to them somehow. And he just laughed and he said, oh, I was like, okay,
they tell you.
well, that's a very important factor that you guys did not mention. The last time I heard Anna go, this was 10 plus years ago. And he started learning Hmong, and he actually has a talent for language. So he was picking up the verbiage and everything. So that's the last time I heard of those two cases that are Hmong, but it's been quite a long time ago.
Give us an update too if you hear it. If you're listening.
I forgot which city, but it was in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
And he's Caucasian, his wife is Hmong, and he's a shaman.
Yes. Give us an update. We would love to hear it.
Well, then it does sound like, some shamans do take in students that are not Hmong or not our, our race. How does that go about for them?
Yeah, so I was telling Jen, when you're a master shaman, it's up to you. You can take in any student that you want and anyone that you want. For me, I don't feel that I'm equipped to be a strong master for the student if they're not of our faith and our background and also who doesn't speak my language. Like, it's just be too hard. I do see a lot of younger shamans these days that they do take in people of other faith and also of other ethnicities. So I'm not sure how younger shamans are doing it, or probably they're not requiring them to speak or learn as much verbiage in our culture. But I am a strict and traditional master shaman where I do require my students to speak the Hmong words and language, and so then I don't want my students to Hailumika. I would rather them use or the verbiage in the other world than Hailumikana.
Oh, okay. I heard one shaman, he said Canada. He didn't say Canada. Is that still acceptable?
That's fine. I mean, names of country, states, and stuff like that, and we're here. How do you say it in Hmong? It's just a Hmong accent,
With
right?
a long accent.
But,
Say
but do
it.
you need to say the accent?
But you're seeing though.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Right, yeah, because I'll just say Canada, right?
Yeah.
But if not, and you're Canada, right? It doesn't sound right. So of course you're gonna kind of.
But this shaman did say Canada like that.
Yeah, and vice versa, right? Sometimes I would hear like the Mika or whatever, and it go no, oh, get out of here, and I was like, oh, like
That's hilarious.
and remember, I'm a traditional master shaman, and I've been doing this for 17 years, and but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? But that's just not my cup of tea.
Oh man, I'm loving these stories. But I do want to go back to seeking help. How do people do this, and how do they seek help?
How do they do what?
How do they, I guess, reach out to someone for help?
Oh, okay. So regardless of who you are, whichever shaman that you know, and there's a lot of us out there, and just kind of ask around. And so you just reach out. And then so in our culture, you don't know if they're traditional or not. And then we kind of spoke about this too, right?
Yeah.
So then you just want to call them and go, hey, Susan, what's your stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What do I need? So normally in our culture, it's a little bit traditional. So we kind of ask like the Hushona or the Ning helpers, or like their family members or their friends, right? Because you get a lot of those, don't you? Don't you get a lot of those? People will ask you to like, what does Susan need? What is she, right? Right. So that indirect trying to contact first, and then once you kind of know what to prep, you can go. But you're the chimo and they're a complete stranger and you don't know anything about them, please call them directly. And majority of us are very open and honest and helpful. And, we're here to help. We're put on earth to help you. So just call and ask, and then, we'll help you. Don't worry about it.
Is it rude to ask the shaman directly, though?
If they're traditional, yes.
Okay. But you can't even judge that because you're very young and you're very Americanized, right? But you're also very traditional. So it's hard to gauge that.
That's like if you don't know their family, you don't know their friends, you don't know anything about them, just call and just ask them directly.
Oh, okay.
But if you do know, then go that route. But if you don't know them, because I get so many people, like, let's say from Arkansas, right? And I've never been to Arkansas, or have any family from Arkansas. They just call me and go, I want to show you what I need. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, let me email you, right? So in that case, then sure, you just do that. But for example, so many people know that we're besties and we know each other, then, the indirect way is a little bit more, I guess, accepted in our culture, and it's not so casual. And you can ask like raw questions with like, let's say the Husha or like, let's say with you, rather than
More direct.
Yeah, more direct. And so like,
like that, right?
and I'm like, whoa, calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why in our culture, get used to ask the people around the shaman, not necessarily him or her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, then in that case, when you do go seek out, do you go by yourself? Who do you go with?
Well, in our culture, we're very formal. So normally we need like a representative. So some people think that so even if you're the man of the house, normally your wife or someone goes and represent you. So so if you're young, especially if you're young and you don't know anything, and then you're usually like an adult accompanies you to
Is that like spiritually tied? Where like Kotupli needs someone to stand there for you, or like why is that?
It is too. In a way, it is because it's like come on, go to play little to shit. You're already spiritually weak, so go to with the the priest can be like I kind of need someone to care about me, right?
Sure.
So you have to. That's why you have to key law or need any sort of you do bought and they're spiritually weak and little to shit. So normally it's their spouse or their son or because. Benny like to Benny, right? That's why I'm not saying daughters. So I'm not leaving out the daughters because I came from a home of all daughters and I have called Tineng for my parents before. So that's why you need someone else to move order you as it's like throwing your own baby shower, right?
Yeah.
It's sweeter when it's like your girls that does
Yeah.
it for you. So it's the same thing.
Okay. Well, then in that case, can it be like an unmarried partner, like your boyfriend or your girlfriend that goes with you for that?
Okay,
That sounds like a no.
Okay, if you're young, please listen. So in our culture, when you're boyfriend or girlfriend, please don't take them because we see as as temporary. You guys can probably break up tomorrow, and you guys aren't even family. So why do you want this stranger to know all stuff about your business, right? And it's just not Hmong people. Like you have to, if you have like Hmong King and you're at the hospital, and if it's just your boyfriend or girlfriend, they don't let you in either. Okay,
Yeah.
so think of it like that. So you have to come please don't bring your boyfriend or girlfriend. Right? This is the key for it. In our culture, if you don't know what that is, if this finger goes like this on the plu, that means it's more embarrassing. Okay, so you thought that you even if go your or go please do not take them, okay? Because it's still a session for you, okay? But yes, you youngsters, that's a no. Don't bring your boyfriend. And I'm thinking, oh, that's your husband. She's like, oh no, and I was like, why is he here?
But what
yes.
if you've been dating for like 10 years?
Okay, that's another story, but 10 years, but are you guys thinking about marriage? Is it getting close? Or they don't have marriage in mind?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
If you don't have marriage in mind, then don't take him. But if you feel like within 2 years, and then oh, well, that's still a no. Like I would rather him wait outside or somewhere. Because in Bay culture, or even the actually, in traditional homes, and I'm sorry, I am traditional. In traditional homes, you have to let the I don't care what they say to you. If your in-laws or good to boyfriend, parents are traditional, they let this shake out your
Yeah.
Let it oh, yeah, but this story you again to know again on chope, all the door so then because no go saka bay on side some of my hina go sata you need to boyfriend need to like just let him go with his family and don't go because you won't look good and vice versa too, right? You're going to like that's kind of weird too. So just don't go. Just do not show up. Just don't go. Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's true. But some, right? Because what is he going to input? Nothing.
Well, he could be tupe.
No.
Oh.
He is not required to.
Oh.
It's her family. See, and that's another thing. And that's why it's like, why are you here? It's weird. You're taking up space. Don't come.
And it might make it awkward to too, right?
Right. It's like, okay, like, why are you here?
Are you in line?
Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like, big call mokong, so it's kind of like going to like the doctor's office, right? And you bring this random person and the doctor's like, okay, Miss Hurst, so who is this?
Yeah.
Are they allowed here? Or sometimes they just kick them out because it's like there's no relation, right?
Yeah.
So I know that we've been friends for a long time, and in our conversations, there are many types of shaman, right? So you morning, do you have to go to a shaman that or name, or can you go to someone that bo shai su?
Yeah, so you have to go sa shaya just to shaya it doesn't really matter who you go to, but you're going to go sa mo shai because go morning and it's the shaman sickness, which that means you need to go to a shaman.
Okay.
So like for example, if like you have issues with your heart and you go to a primary care provider or your primary doctor, he's not going to know enough about that issue, and he's probably or she is probably going to give you advice that's not really accurate. As accurate as the cardiologist,
Sure.
where they've studied this for 40 years,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So then it's the same thing too. So you're like, come on, okay, please go to a tsinang, rather than like, let's say, come on, shai hosha, right? So come on, shai hosha, he's gonna be like, okay, come on, depending on which ethnicity he is, right? So come on, and then he'll probably bless you, give you scriptures to learn, or whatever it is that but then again, so then it doesn't really help you with your problem at hand, and he can't because he's not a shaman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Can that also antagonize or anger your hua too?
No, because you're just trying to see what's going on, so it doesn't anger, but it's just that for more not accurate. What word am I looking for? But for someone to help go in go situation, not like the cardiologist, right? You need the cardiologist to tell you, hey, because if you're a primary care physician, you may not know might not like so for example, there's people that I know that has heart conditions, right? And then so when we go to the doctors or the primary care physician or their main doctor would say, oh yeah, like keep the blood pressure 120 or under, then you're all good. But then when I take them to the cardiologist, he says 100 or lower.
Yeah.
Right? So then the cardiologist, I assume, has been studying the heart for 40 years, and the normal doctor is just giving you the general things, right?
Yeah.
So he's just giving general things like, oh, you have guides, right? But going to Tsunaki, he's like, oh, you need to do this. It's more accurate than your situation, right? So that's why I'm saying about the shaman sickness, you would rather go to the shaman instead of like like it's kind of different.
Well, Yolita, then how do you seek help from a shaman then?
So, and sometimes you can start there, or you don't have to. And no hula for an appointment. Sometimes they just like, oh, it's okay, show up. But sometimes you show up, and let's say it's a Saturday, and the line is long. So if you don't mind waiting, I guess it's okay too. But hey, like, is it okay if I show up? And even if you call, if they're more traditional, sometimes they don't. So that's why I choose weekdays. But anyhow, I'm giving people tips here. So at least they're expecting you and they're home. Because if you just show up, what if they're not home?
Yeah.
Right? So then you just call them up and you just prepare the things that they tell you to bring. And if you're not sure or unsure, ask like the husho, ask their spouse, ask the people that have gone before you, and they'll tell you like, hey, last night, so, and then you just follow it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the shayai or reading entails?
Okay. Well, and then you kind of get the appointment and then you show up with all the stuff that you've prepared, right? Don't ever or ask any sort of favors or any sort of services from a shaman empty-handed, right? You always have to have at least gauze paper and xia or incense in your hand. If you go empty-handed, and everybody knows this, by the way, and we have to do another episode or on this, right?
Yeah.
But never go empty-handed unless like you have the limo office or I tell you to come empty-handed because I have everything already to make it easier for things. But for everybody, but that's very rare. Like never go empty-handed.
Can I guess why you have to bring gauze paper and incense?
Sure, why?
Okay, so my guess is one is respect, right, for the shaman that you're going to, and then two is he needs it or she needs it so that she can pay nilu komo or lutang or whatever to even go and shayai. Is that true?
Actually, your answer is very confused. But the respect is right. The respect is right. And so, and Kakaitanama, it's something totally different. And it's normally at the beginning of the year.
Okay, so I didn't mean it like that. I meant like so that he can go into the part where you shai tao, so not kaita in the beginning. And that's not what I meant.
The answer's still wrong. But yeah.
She tried.
Darn.
Almost. It's actually offering for the spiritual guides.
Oh, okay.
And so out of respect and also offering for the spiritual guides. So so whatever it is that you're going through,
Oh, okay.
we take hits all the time. But I promise we'll talk about this in another
Yes.
episode. There's so much to cover.
So what does it entail again?
Going back.
So so and then the Husha will take care of you guys and kind of get things ready. And then so every shaman's very different. Some does, like shai pie or tarot cards, some shai candles, and I can go on forever. So it just depends on what the shaman uses and what she or he is comfortable with. So but the actual reading so all of us are just regular human beings, a little bit more sensitive, but just regular human beings. And without spiritual guides or chumokonenke, you cannot be a shaman. So they're going to kind of check you out and say, hey, a couple more spiritual guides around you, a couple more konen. And then number two, they're going to try to see, a couple more tonena, and they're just going to be like, go chmo both and you can't, or they're gonna be like, maybe you have it, but ball. So whatever it is, called shayaki, it's mainly those two, and like they might go into like, just in case check other things appearing like being spiritually weak, or they might go into those details also. But those are the main two things.
Okay, and then like when you give the joss paper and the hyang, right? Do you give it directly to the shaman or do you give it to Husha?
So you always give it to the Husho, but let's say the Husho is not home or it's not available or nowhere to be found, then but usually out of respect, you have to Husho, you have to Bana, so then you give it to the Ning helper.
Okay. And then also you said Kyoning, what is that?
I knew that question was coming. Okay, so Kyoning literal translation, it means the Ning bridge, right? Deshima, what it really is like this cloth-like spiritual path. Well, it depends on where you are, but it's cloth-like spiritual path that basically take in the other world. So we always stay on this path so that we don't get lost and so that we don't really meet trouble. So the game. And if you want to think about it, it's like roads, that we take in there.
What color is the bridge?
What does it look like? What shape?
No.
Well, have you seen it out here? Where people more on a lutana.
No. Is it the one that runs from the top of their
yeah, it's
bamboo?
a cloth now.
Oh, okay.
So,
it's that.
So that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, so
and if not, we'll do another episode.
in there.
Pretty much. But think about sea draw, right? Where you're on there and gliding, right? So, yeah.
So now you went to a shaman, you got a reading. What do you do after that reading?
Yeah, so como toki, it depends. Sometimes como ki no, let's say to tnengdo or to nengdo, and the shaman says, "Oh, great, you have spiritual guides and you have a great toneng and woohoo," and then so that's a good reading, right? But let's say if you go and the shaman's like, I don't see anything, right? Gucci bought como kwa, my case by the way. Gucci bought como kwa, Gucci bought go to tournament. So I don't even think that you can become a shaman. So it depends on Shayla Bapana. And get this, so your little tournament is higher than yours, you may not see it.
Oh.
So then, como shaki to shaman li to shiro kali manita ball, or they go to turn it like just think about a highway, right? If it's really high and you're way down here, you only like see so if that person li your go about the same or higher, ke la ball. But you the little turning ke na ki le to honosa, so le ball go now. So then sometimes they're like, no, my grandpa, this and this, and la how to go to guchuma turning, guchuma honang go to yeah, because go to turning shit also they can't see it. Right? So then yonder to tnang that come mona a so don't be discouraged if people tell you, oh, come on, probably it just means that they're not the right one for you. That's all. So let's say that normally you try or you ask around to see if that shaman has similar guides as you. It means thank you for your service, shaman, and we have to go somewhere else, right? But then besides that, I always tell people to get a second opinion. Because of that. Because, you're like, see that you're I'm good now, right? But you see, so getting a second opinion is good. When you guys be very respectful and I've had so many times where they come to me that they're like, oh, Susan, go and and then I'd be like, wait, did you say anything to her though? And we're like, yeah. Well, that's not what Susan said. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, so don't create chaos and okay? So really it's like you can get a second opinion, but you don't have to announce it and you don't have to put someone down. So just keep it to yourself. But getting a second opinion is always good just in case more than the other or something that the other didn't catch.
So what if it's not the right time for this person to name, right? Can they give their guides to someone else if they have it?
It depends. So your koneng number one allows you to, you can, and then also number two, the person that you're giving it away to, they have to like help also, and they have to be strong enough to take away your koneng. So let me kind of talk about a case that I've had before, where I had this lady. Well, actually, her dad was my client, but I had a lady where but she's in Minnesota. It was really hard, and her husband doesn't want to support her to be a it's an Ornian. And so because her dad was a shaman, her dad wanted to do her the favor and save the marriage and to take a Honagna. But the problem was her dad was not strong enough to take it because so when I was called, when I got involved, it was because her dad was so sick and he was in and out of the hospital because actually took over her dad and then like he just wasn't really there anymore. So what I did was I just sent her away, and then so he became normal within 5 days. Yeah, I mean, ก็อดตายสักอย่างนี้หายตัวหลุดสักอย่างนี้มันไปแล้วได้ใช่ไหม the Friday thing มาก็ totally recover and be normal again so I told them that so เด็กก็ยังนี่จีเอ็ก็วันนั้นปวดที่จำรอตัวเลยรอyou know ยกโคชิเขาก็นะ and นั่งจีเอา the same แต่ยังนั่ง not even the same type of นั่ง and then so you can't so be careful everybody out there you can't just automatically assume that like go to husband or your dad or your sister that they can just take your คนนั้นนะนี่จะจู่เห่ายกคนนั้นจะชี้เห่า and the person has to be strong enough or stronger than you and your core to be able to take it.
That's very interesting because I didn't know that because her name lineage must have came from her dad, right? But it's different. Name too. I thought it would be the same.
Yeah, so it gets complicated. But think about it like as like occupations, right?
Okay.
So let's say like in your family, everybody's doctor. Everybody goes to school. Everybody's doctor. And you know, majority of the people in your family, let's say they're family doctors, like all primary care physicians, right? But one of you decided I want to be a brain surgeon, right?
Okay.
So then the skills and the expertise level of that it heightens and is different from a family doctor. So it's the same. So it is in your lineage too, but then your skill set and how strong or how good you are is totally different from it being your lineage. Also.
But then, so how do you know if they're compatible? Do you get a reading for that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Always get a reading. Compared to getting a diagnose or research or, you're looking into it. So and I always tell people this, or meaning, don't just wing it. Always, always enjoy it. Be careful. It's always life and death here. Take a book and speciality. It's not like this cup where it's tangible and I said, Jen, it is this right here. Because it's spiritual. Please get a reading. And so, so for this particular case, the father just said, and he just went and did it and it almost cost his life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So have you taken on anybody's guides? And if you did, it must be really hard, right?
Why is she always asking me questions?
I need
We're
to know.
here to teach. Okay, no, just kidding. Yes. I have taken other people to relieve them from, not burden, but to relieve them from being a shaman. But in my, years of experience, I realized that if you know the person or like if you're related to them somehow, it's a lot easier. Yeah, so sometimes, we're complete strangers, and like, hey, like, watch na, and please, or I'm a single guy, I don't know how to do this, and then so, and let me be very clear, we're not just sitting back saying, oh, I'll take your call, right? So it's actually kind of formal, and like, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so, especially for your core that's very adamant, and also you got to relate to it's harder. So, it's always better if you can give it to like let's say your spouse or someone related, or even your bestie, something like that. Like new state. I've had a few cases where, like, let's say they're from a different state and so they kind of like slowly creep back. But everyone who go hang or were closer, it worked 100% of the time. None of their call went back to them. And yes, you have to be strong because so let's say and taking on someone else's corner, it's like having a baby all over again. And not only that, going to kind of like train them too, because can you imagine like you go to war and you have 4-year-olds and you have 50-year-olds and you're like, oh my gosh, this one has no experience. Like, what do I do with them? Like, how do I use them? Yeah, so for some of biggest name them, we do take on other people with Yakona. We do relieve them from their responsibility of being a shaman. Going kola because it's really hard, and you also have to be able to control your call. So in that case that I gave earlier, Nudun stronger, and he was not able to control them. So they took over his body, and so Nudumanji like no vuchi. So imagine taking on 2, 3, 4, 5 people to call, right? And for him, it was only one. So it's a difficult process, and I don't recommend it if you're, number one, you're not patient, because remember, good right? And then number two, you could do bulk of the king had the go strong enough to so here could do feel go talk sassy go to feel kind of gojo or go to feel and you don't feel like yourself anymore. Please don't take it, and please don't do it.
Do the guides have to get along? Like your guides already established their relationship with you, right? And then you take on someone else's. Does your guide be like, I don't like them over there?
Of course.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes your guides are more like mellow or more conservative, and then the new guides are like really like all over the place.
Rowdy.
So it's just like it's just like being a mom. You just have to balance and make everybody get along, right? Because all kids are different. No two kids are the same,
right?
So it's the same. Yeah.
Okay.
And you find that out during the reading, right? To know if they're compatible.
What do you mean?
Like that you're gonna bring in, that your core are okay with them, and
Yes, that's exactly why you do the reading.
Okay.
It's not getting like Bomondi and then okay, just give me your call because you're my sister. Yeah.
Well, then for Yoko that you do take on and do stay with you and don't go back, are you just stuck with them now and they're just forever yours?
Thankfully, I normally have a contract with them. So, for example, several people that I took their call from their request because, like, whether or they're of a different race or something like that. So, normally I have a contract with them, and I go, hey, by the way, did you ladies know that the Konena or the spiritual guides, they call you guys mom or dad?
They do?
They do. They do.
So they are really your kids.
Yeah, they really are your kids. So when I take them, I'm like, your dad told me that Nuchi Sayonea. So I'm gonna have to take you guys with me, or basically foster you guys for a while. And so, how many years or how long do I have to foster Nick or Shiana and move back to the heavens? And it's so then it's a contract. So sometimes they go 2 years, 5 months, 6 months. Sometimes they say 5 years, right? So then during that time, let's say they say 2 years. After also like I just bring them back, and then they don't bother the host or the person anymore. Yeah,
and that's binding. They can't turn back on their word.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the host or the person, you have to be adamant about it. Especially gosh, they upset me so much because they tell me like, oh, but the next one's like, there's a good curious, there's a good wait, there's a chance, like let me come back. They're more like the decision is like final, and it's like going to all done. They go back and forth wishy-washy. So then that's why sometimes they do come back, because the person's not certain and the decision's not concrete.
They have that longing, huh?
Yeah,
because they came to be theirs, right? Okay.
Well, then in that case, do they get sad when they're transferred over, or do they feel lonely in any type of way?
Originally, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's a few weeks, but not just sometimes people will tell me like, I feel like a call. I feel like very light. I don't feel like whole. I don't feel like myself. And I was like, you remember you told me to take them, right? So people, or some people, they would cry for like weeks. So you can more how long, emotion.
Right, because that's like you're taking a part of them away.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is really sad because, if you think about it, you're losing a part of you that you have chosen to give away. But then I hear that spiritually gifted people, they're the chosen ones, or that your sign you, like the guides are the one who chose them. So why is it? Why did the guides choose you? And why won't the spiritual guides leave them alone if they decide not to be a shaman?
I am so glad we're talking about this today because I need to set the record straight. Okay, so that's actually a really big misconception that they assume they choose Bena, but really Bena you choose low.
We did? Mm-hmm. I mean, they did.
Change it real quick. Yeah. So if you think about like a game, so we would like write out a contract or think of them before we come down on Earth. We're like, okay, like I want to be this type of healer, and I'm really good at this, and then I was running games and then we choose that. Okay, like what sort of like weapons and tools and animals and guides to help me go play this game, and then go choose like that. And you're like, no, but I'm more healing, so I'm going to choose the more of the people that are healing, and then go choose the dollar game. You round it up, and then you go to like a certain place, and you write out a contract like, okay, I'm going to use all these core right here. They're going to help me save the world, because we all know that you the reincarnate thing you don't remember anymore, but the spirit guides do. So it is their responsibility to make you remember all of that, and when you don't, they're supposed to like, and go, okay, yeah, go show a contract now, and then let me be a shaman now, like how I wanted to, because more, all these things that, trying to fix and help make the world a better place, right? And then but we all forget. And then so that's what I tell, or your mom. And sometimes, and some people it's like, go call contract, not that, okay, well, go log it, go call, and then go to the thing, I'll be good, right? Yeah. And some contracts you're like, well, I want to come and, fix like 500,000 people.
Change the world.
Yeah, change the world. So if your contract's like that, I highly doubt that you can get out of it. But you go call contract, then go, but you can just give your call away, or you can just kind of like think of it's not too bad. But for those of us who are very ambitious, all right, it's a lot harder for you to give away your call, because call contract go your buy everybody now. And then that's why because again, in your contract you say, hey, or you're gonna be punished ABC, and they're afraid of the ABC that like right? And then so contract now, and sometimes for those who like to show you need to highlight, it's okay, it's okay. So it just depends on what go show up there in your contract, and the stronger it is, the harder it is to get away from being a shaman. You have to do it. And not only that, it is really sad because you think about it, like since you're born, right? Or even before that. So can you imagine waiting for someone, like, let's say, how old are you? 12, 15, 13, 20, 40 years?
Yeah.
And you're just sitting here waiting. Please remember, please remember. Then now let you go, right? So just imagine how sad these are, because you're the one who started all, and they're not leaving you alone because you're the one who made them write the contract and sign it. And so how do I know all of this? You all might be curious. It's because taking students. So for all my audience, please listen. The typical master shaman no mucha tuti or cha students channel, we actually mushai the nihal contract shown or did you guys sign in the book of shamans? And so that's where we know what your contract is and all that stuff. So it really does exist.
I see.
That makes it more sad knowing that, you're the one who chose them, and then you're letting them go to, fulfill their duties that you had written for them, right?
And then it's on me now too. But not only that, like, yeah, that's what thing to share. And the thing I could call share to share. And then sometimes like ladies would come to me like, oh, dang, let me cycle this spot there, and I'm like, you're the one who did this, right?
You did it.
Yeah, and that's why they can't let you go because they're going to get punished. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really sad to like wait for someone for that long. Because imagine, you got the English even patient, you don't do shit, you do more, right? But like y'all, right? I was like, living more shit, go like y'all. Yeah, you're kidding. But in that case, now that you've clarified that, we're the one that chose them, but after even knowing all that, we still don't want to be a shaman. What can we do?
Yeah, go back to how strong your contract is. You can give it away. New strong tone. Go to Sachi Salo, you're stuck with it. I don't think a lot of us would necessarily say that we all really want to be a shaman.
Yeah.
There are some people that do say that, but that's very rare because being a shaman takes up so much time and effort and energy. So majority of us, we don't want to take that responsibility on because it's really hard. It's a whole lifestyle change. So
yeah. Well, but I can see that a person like 20s, 30s, they can start to oneng, right? But what if you're much older, like you're 60 or 70? Like you're 60 already or 50, 60. You do lao zhan, right? How does that work? Like, can you say, oh, sorry,
Well, my uncle is 80 and so okay.
They're like, you still have 20-some good years.
He is strong, and he's been doing it for a long time though. Go ask him. It's like you start. Yeah. So gladly to make known that como mall or certain cases, let's say como high or they do forgive you. And majority of the time, especially go physically not able they do forgive you. So we do this whole thing like wherever they came from, and then we do kind of like not necessarily void, but in a way, kind of, the contract, and then go to leave the person alone. But then again, at the end of the day, remember, you have to be very decisive in your decision, and you can't go back and forth like, even if it's just all mental and go side, even though you don't voice it out, that will still make them come back. So if you're like, very decisive, tell them that I personally have done it for several people before, and it's because they're loud and young.
Yeah.
So, they did, I guess, get out of their contract.
Yeah. Or you mentioned, like, if you marry out of race and they're not able to help you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with age loyalty, they're a lot more forgiving. Again, the contract is very strong. So the high, to convert, they can still make you very sick and still, or you mourning or go through the shaman sickness. So please always seek help. And so like, let me try this and try to get away from it, right? So just always seek help and make sure that you're taking care of it and not just like randomly do things that may just harm you overall.
Like Mark or 250 and 50, right?
Sometimes you can't even wait that long, right?
It's a long time. So imagine like you go
that's true.
That's long time.
But then other than marrying outside the race or your age, then what else have you seen why people don't want to be a shaman?
Sometimes, like I have, a cousin where and so she doesn't have any helpers, and she lives out of state. So then, she doesn't have any family that can help her. So and sometimes and like they're physically ill where they can't do it because it's physically draining also. so. It takes a lot on you. And also another thing, lower in the game, sometimes not, and this is another thing, where like, 叮当呢 sometimes like 門鐵死去好啦 and like 門鐵頭攞住刀頭死去啦 and 去好的嘅種你來我去刀的嘅來你多頭有的 please like 把個呢或者個對時更高了什麼估計成果去刀里 so those cases exist also so I mean there's so many other reasons out there that you know I can name and highlight so everybody is very different but these reasons are very legitimate and if you don't have a legitimate reason, well, then you're kind of stuck.
Well, are there any consequences if you don't follow through with your contract?
The answer is going to be yes and no. So you have go low they're more forgiving.
Sure.
Okay. How you have go low going to and your contract was very heavy or like very serious, then yes, it's possible that you'll go through the consequence. And remember, it's all you're doing. So whatever that got down but what if got down okay, I don't get in trouble at all. Okay, it's possible too.
Leave yourself a loophole.
leave that loophole. But normally, I find it that if the contract is strong, then the punishment is harder.
And you said something earlier about your core, right? So the people or the I'm going to say people, but it won't be people. The people that gets punished is not just you, right? It's you and your core.
Well, it depends because like they're going to try all their might and you kind of like let them go and so you're the one who's on the hook
okay.
Now. Yeah.
Okay, but if your core they didn't do their part, then they could get okay.
Yeah, then it's possible that they can get punished also. Okay. That's why they're so adamant.
Right.
Because they're like, I don't want to get punished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about, you know, your shamans in our Hmong culture. What about like, are there, just out of curiosity, are there spiritual practitioners in our culture that
Oh, yes. So majority of the time, based on like spiritual practitioners in the Hmong culture, what's the number one that I think of?
One name.
One name, shamans only, right? But then that's not true. There's actually a few others. And so this other one that I would like to talk about is Yalutachona. So it's kind of like the healing altar. So this person that and by the way, anybody can have it. And so like about healing it can just appear. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. And also so you don't have to be a shaman. You can like
but
just
you
have it depends because and then you can become a shaman. But I've seen plenty of ladies where and
okay.
But it's very specific. So let's say like go there and it doesn't have to be like some rare herb. It can be like, they got to do it, right? And then like, they take any more day or just any more chore or buhu or anything like that too. Well, it is actually chore too. But no, the more time, the more day, let's start on y'all or no more shaking like that. Oh, go touch your chew like that. So the mom was so let's obviously. This is my joy. More touch on go, so like the morning dog. So better always try like that. More touch on like your car, right? So then it means that I can just freely give you any plants now. Because I have an altar now.
I see.
So your touch on just because you're a shaman doesn't mean that you have it. But yes, certainly possible that your shamans do have it. And not every shaman has it though.
Okay. And tancho, right? My mom used to have ilu tancho, right? Is it typically just women?
No, men can have it too.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can have it.
Okay.
She has it too. And she's like, like, why didn't you take one? And I was like, anybody can have it, right? So yeah, lúc ta chua này kì, nó có cho chua đấy có bao giờ có bao nó kì, nó tu, spirit chua đó nó nữ lọ. Because ta có lúc ta chua nó, có khó mỏ nó nữ lạnh nó, or it's more accurate, and you start feeling, nó rong cha, thế nó có sự khí chất nó có sự lý giả sự là, nó có khó tụng năng a lot better than, let's say, có chữ mọ. But it's just that now, okay, when chúng ta hiện tại thì nhiều có lại, you just can't do it free anymore.
It enhances.
Yeah. And so I guess in a way you kind of unintentionally manifested it, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's why it's someone that got totally because of that. Yeah. So they're like, nope, like we're doing like just like this fight over here. And like because I'll be the central thing, but once it start going to like 10, 12, 15, 20 job plans, then that's when it starts creeping up.
Yeah. But you know, Hmong your 30-day diet, you're like 5-6 herbs long. So even if you plant enough to that one dish, it's coming for you.
It's possible. I'll just stick with that
kidding.
5. Be careful. Or just buy at the store, right? Call up mom. Yeah, so it's possible. So we'll touch on that. And then the third one is a lot less known, and I don't even know if you ladies know this, but so I call them the spiritual scholars, or 俾啲叫塔祖冇塔祖啦。So like 那個了好冇即係 symptoms 已經可能睇到，但是嘛跟我想嘅了個話 is very specific to 塔祖是你只要那能啦，because 能嘛no more like a lot of different types of spiritual guides, and so these spiritual scholars. And everybody's a little bit different also. So these spiritual scholars, as I call them, like your spiritual guides, teach them about like math, science, how to build planes, how to manufacture or engineer things to make the world a better place. And sometimes it can be like to teach them about the universe or vocabulary or anything like that. So like the corner is very specific to teaching them things like that, and they don't necessarily heal. But and some of them but then some so it just depends on the person. But I would say it's normal, or like if I had to guess, the percentage would be like 65% of them.
That is very interesting. I didn't know about scholars. When you said that, it made me think of Einstein.
Right.
Yeah.
And they got more research, right? And but even the guy Tesla himself, right? Like you know, so like the so big spiritual scholars, yeah, and they're way ahead of their time. So won't be the no, it's not true. It's just that they're way ahead of their time because to make the world a better place.
That's like Back to the Future again.
Yeah.
So like if you like morning, right, as itu shaman or ning, can you convert to be a scholar?
No.
Oh. Okay, never mind.
Because they go morning and go to it's true. But like okay, so through shaman or that category, there's only like a healer or there's only a doctor touch on there's only a pharmacist where anybody can watch on, right? How scholars there's only PhD na. So to MD, the PhD is very different. Right?
But the MD could go get a PhD too.
Right. The Shima to shaman that will never be as skilled as to a go PhD only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the so you call purpose, healing.
Okay.
And mediation and stuff like that.
Okay.
How to PhD go, like let's say philosophy and
philosophy.
Or astrology go to MD or to law will never be, I don't want to say never, but usually won't be as knowledgeable as to a concentrate on one or two areas only.
Oh, okay.
So then in regards to the spiritual scholar, do they mourning the same way as like a regular shaman?
Yes, do spiritual scholar and the ma or like the ma very closely. So you have to be very careful with like saying the or like deciphering if you're shaman or not. So the ma very similar. The only difference I can kind of pinpoint is that no the scholars like right off the bat. 后来就乜那嘛，咁就ถาม佢呀，我能考得到呀，然后就 scholars 什么，let's start research 听really like concentrate on 可能goals 是呢，and they don't even want to think about healing. They don't even want. So I find that normally that kind of tells me or kind of indicate the golden, but it's not always true.
Do they have a bridge too?
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and I don't think so. Because normally, have another spiritual scholar or another person. Okay, this is gonna be your altar from now on. Actually, I take it back. I did see this one case where and Dashima Lama Chatia, Dashima Ditsuneng doesn't say that, he's the spiritual scholar or to Tunda to master. He just says, I'm gonna bring Goto spiritual guys but then you discover yourself but me to master because I'm not a spiritual scholar, I'm a shaman. So I did see that one case too. So I am not an expert in like a spiritual scholar and all, and I can only talk about the 5-6 cases that I've had and them and so I'm going to assume no from the ones that I've seen, but the truth is I don't know.
This is the first time I'm hearing of spiritual scholar. Is that very rare, or it's out there that we just don't know about?
It's out there, but you all just don't know about because they're really hush.
Okay.
And like and sometimes like a spiritual scholar, like whatever it is that they specialize in. Like let's say airplanes. Like you'll see them like making all these airplanes models and like, okay, how do you perfect it? How do you do it? And then so you have to and outside of the family, you wouldn't know because they don't advertise themselves.
Okay, I'm gonna start looking at all the engineers
and go view everyone's house, pay attention.
But sometimes they're like their normal, like let's say their day job, they can be like data entry person, and then they go home and they start building and doing. So you never know. You never know.
Oh, wow,
so then, do they also do like you do shaman? So they won't be wearing like the tihao and all those stuff.
No. No. They can fold their legs or they just sit at their altar or so and they just like or just talk to them. Sometimes they feel like they need to wear Hmong clothes or or whatever to be holy and talk to them, but they don't like don't have a bench or anything like that. But from the ones that I've seen. So I don't know everybody out there, but from the ones that I've seen, okay. And then also the fourth type is and then so like and then they'll ask for help. So the more that so you're gonna need a ta to house and anybody can and it's not that like you have to be a zineng or like a Hmong leader and clan leader or anything like that. Like anybody can come and the more you're gonna need or sometimes it's like you go to like someone that's and you learn like a whole series from him or her, and then so after okay my fight out go, in other words like my fight your spiritual guys or and then after that, you go to master, so that's the fourth type that I can think of. So they're spiritual leaders, and usually, usually but it is possible that you and you start to notice things or know things also.
Okay, and what is kagong in English?
I think, and some of these things now, like, they're words that are closely related, but such as the word trance, right? I can't think of any other word
Sure,
for it.
yeah.
But the closest is like spells or blessings. Because okay. Not to almost like magic to make things better. So like you don't need to go, what's how law? Right, and then go just no to make a so but like God, that's like black magic and voodoo and stuff like that, right? So it has that association, but I think that's the closest word that I'm aware of. But usually it's the spells.
Okay. Very interesting. A quick story about my dad when he was right. So I don't know who maybe it was my mom got a little gash on her finger and the blood won't stop gushing out, right? So my dad like just pointed at it, haha, Lucy, and then it stopped. So I'm like, is that real? Yeah. I was really young, obviously, right? But
so most likely, he was going to make it stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because back then, like, imagine and like hours, if not days of walks to go to the nearest like clinic or so.
Yeah.
So then she could go through those things in order to deal with healing. Yeah. And that's why shamans were, the doctors of the village. Because usually shamans like must sort of cook and other things to heal and help the village also.
Yeah, so okay, you already answered what I was gonna ask. My question was, do all shaman know some kukong?
It is preferred and it is highly suggested, but the answer is no.
Oh.
Not everybody.
Oh, okay.
Because back then, like the Loma, it was common.
Yeah.
Like everybody gonna, but nowadays that I think about it, some people, they're shamans, but it's
Oh, okay.
Because they so it's a different time.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed this episode, and we did so many stories.
Yes, we did.
But I don't want to get away from like the summary of what Morning or the journey of Morning is. So can you summarize it very quickly? And then also, what is your advice for people that are at this stage that need to cha their way?
Okay. So to summarize it is, morning, or if you're experiencing the shaman sickness normally at a very young age, you're already experiencing symptoms and you're already showing signs that your family is kind of like, Clark is a little different, or like Claire over there, she's a little different, so as you age and you get older, then the morning or the shaman sickness just gets like, stronger and stronger. And so at this stage, your name monitor, and to keep an eye out for you moms and dads out there, and then do something about it. Whether it's to help your child or to kind of push back, or you have to do something. So this stage is very devastating, especially for the person who's going through it, and also it can get really depressing also because of you morning that data. It's like like you can't get up and you're in the hospital bed and they take you home and then the next day and it's like so sometimes people tell me like, are you sure because right? So that's how you can tell and it's not real elements, it's the spiritual part here, right? So summary is do something, seek help, and whether or acknowledge it, especially acknowledge that they are going through things and it's not just in their head. So at this stage, it's very hard, and please seek help. And so your other question is, what's my advice? So my advice is, and they're very young, I do prefer because go to you become Ninglo that day. And then say goodbye to, Transformers and your dolls and playing soccer, because look, and people treat you as a 40-year-old now instead of a 8-year-old now. So please get the 那个苗们妹呢，说这妈妈了，我能天天包呢，上我谈到的我都呢，just help him or her live the best life that they can while they can. Because sometimes 个啥么不上保的家了 sometimes you watch down in your emergency cases 给雷影就去我了天 but for the sake of the child, I want them to have a childhood and not grow up so quick. And so Tenichi, or will have emotional baggages later on. I am a counselor at heart also. And so if you're 20 and 30 or much older, and come on, seek help. Watch this episode and seek help. You have to go, but it's nothing just silent down. Call us up, get a reading. Because at the end of the day, go to who's going through this. And you know what? And they go, okay, at least you know now. At least you know now. So just don't sit around and endure all this shaman sickness because, again, shaman sickness, it's not right. It's mind, body, and spirit. And never stop because of the contract. So then my advice is, be mentally strong and also please seek help. You can't do this alone. Please seek help.
Well, thank you so much for today, Susan. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned with us as we continue this 3-part series, and we look forward to seeing you to our next episode.
Bye. See you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. We hope you have gained some insights that have changed your perspective and positively influenced you for the future. Be sure to check out our social media and like, follow, share, and subscribe. We also want to hear your thoughts. Please go to our Facebook or Instagram page and ask questions or post comments on there. And as always,
be kind and go make the world a better place.